My scheming boss thought he could obliterate my legacy and banish me, but he's about to face a cataclysmic downfall for underestimating my resolve. We need more agility, not more security theater. Quentin Bryce's words hung in the conference room like smoke. My name is Julian Kerr, 42 years old, lead security architect at Vinix Technologies in Austin. For 10 years, I'd built and maintained the security infrastructure protecting financial data for over 350 clients. I'd seen 5 CTOs come and go. Quentin Bryce was the 6th, and after just 3 weeks, he'd already decided I was the problem. "You're strangling our future, Julian," Quentin roared, his eyes blazing with contempt. "Your obsession with safety is a death sentence for progress. These protocols are outdated," he continued, flipping through my quarterly security assessment. "We're losing deployment velocity. Our competitors are moving twice as fast." I kept my voice level. Those competitors have also had breaches. Everyone has breaches, Quentin waved his hand dismissively. It's about recovery, not prevention. The 7 other team leads nodded along. Nobody wanted to contradict the new boss. Nobody except me. "You're betting our clients' trust on a reckless gamble," I said, my voice sharp and unwavering. "One slip and we're obliterated. Our clients trust us specifically because we haven't had a breach," I said. "The financial sector has different requirements than the places I've worked before." Quentin's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Wells Fargo." "I'm familiar with financial security requirements, Julian." "Familiar?" I countered, my tone cutting like steel. "You're tearing apart a system you can't even fathom, Quentin." What he didn't understand was that our system wasn't standard. I'd built custom security layers after the board refused to invest in enterprise solutions, proprietary firewall rules, custom IDS patterns, a homegrown access control system. All documented, but the documentation was sparse because they'd never approved time for proper knowledge transfer. "I'd like to walk you through why these particular—" "Enough!" Quentin barked, slamming his laptop shut. "Your excuses are holding us back." "We don't have time for that today," Quentin closed his laptop. "Everyone's stretched thin getting the new client portal ready. Let's table the security discussion." After the meeting, Leora from product development caught me in the hallway. "You okay? That was rough." "I'm fine." I wasn't. "Quentin's just trying to make his mark," she said. "Give him time to settle in." "He's a ticking bomb," I said, my voice low with dread. "He's going to torch everything we've built." But 4 days later, I found my access to the security logging server restricted. When I asked about it, the help desk said it was a new policy directive from the CTO's office. Security logs were being consolidated into the general IT monitoring system, a system I'd repeatedly flagged as inadequate for detailed forensic analysis. That night, I backed up my documentation and security notes to my personal drive. Not company data, just my processes, methods, and system architecture. Something told me I might need it soon. The next morning, my security dashboard showed 4 unusual login attempts, flagged by my custom monitoring tool. Nobody else seemed to notice. I'd come to Vinix after 6 years at a government contractor. Back then, the company was a scrappy startup with ambitious founders and more vision than funding. I was employee number 30. Now we had over 400 people across 3 office buildings. My dad had been skeptical when I left my stable government-adjacent job for a startup in this economy, but I believed in what we were building. Security first, financial data management before fintech became a buzzword. I'd taken a pay cut to join, compensated with equity that would be worth something if we succeeded. And we did. For years, I worked 90-hour weeks building our security architecture. While other team leads fought for budget and headcount, I made do with less, developing custom solutions when we couldn't afford off-the-shelf products. The compromise was always the same. I'd build it myself, but there was never time to properly document or train others. That's a bottleneck, our previous CTO Nadia had warned. What happens if you get hit by a bus? Then whoever replaces me better be good at reading code comments, I joked. Nadia understood the technical debt we were accumulating, but she protected me from the board's constant push for faster releases and more features. "You're our shield, Julian," Nadia had said, her voice firm with respect. "Don't let them weaken you." We had a rhythm. I'd identify risks, she'd translate them to business impact, and we'd find compromises that kept our security posture strong. Then Vinix got acquired by Peak Pulse Solutions. Nadia was replaced by Quentin, whose mandate was clear: accelerate growth, streamline operations, unlock trapped value, as he put it in his all-hands introduction. Within a month, I noticed the changes. Security reviews were shortened to accommodate more aggressive release cycles. Penetration tests were rescheduled, then scaled back. My team's authorization requests for security upgrades were deprioritized. Leora saw it too. "Quentin's driving us off a cliff," she whispered, her eyes wide with worry. "He's sacrificing safety for speed." "They're pushing our sprint capacity to the breaking point. QA is getting squeezed to meet deadlines." "What about the compliance requirements?" I asked. "We can't cut corners there." She shrugged. "Quentin says we're reinterpreting the requirement." His words, not mine. That evening, my direct report Zane stopped by my desk. "Something weird," he said. "I got questioned about our firewall rule update process. Quentin wants to know why changes take so long to implement. Did you explain the testing requirements?" "Yeah, but he kept asking if there were workarounds we could use for emergency situations." "He's hunting for weaknesses," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "He's going to rip us apart." After Zane left, I sat staring at my monitor. 10 years of careful work, and now they wanted shortcuts. I could feel it all beginning to unravel. The calendar invite came on Wednesday morning: security restructuring discussion. Julian Kerr, Quentin Bryce, conference room C, 3 p.m. I spent the morning checking my security dashboards one last time. Everything was running as designed. The custom alert system I'd built was monitoring for unusual access patterns. The segmentation between client data repositories was intact. The backup verification tests were all green. At 3 p.m. sharp, I walked into conference room C. Quentin was already there with Celine from HR. "Julian, have a seat." His tone was professional, empty. "I'll get straight to the point. We're restructuring the security operation model, transitioning to a more distributed approach." I said nothing. The presence of HR told me everything I needed to know. "You're betraying everything I've built," I said, my voice low and seething. "You're inviting disaster, Quentin. Your position as centralized security architect is being eliminated," he continued. "We're embedding security functions within each product team." "You're tearing down a fortress," I shot back, my voice rising with fury. "You have no idea what you're unleashing." "Who will maintain the core security infrastructure?" I asked. "We're moving to cloud-native tools with third-party management," Quentin explained. "More scalable, less dependent on tribal knowledge." Tribal knowledge. My 10 years of building custom solutions to protect client data reduced to an organizational antimatter. Celine slid a folder across the table. "This outlines the severance package: 3 months salary, extended health benefits, and accelerated vesting of your equity from the acquisition." I opened the folder, scanned the numbers. Fair. Even generous. This decision had been made well above Quentin's level. He was just the messenger. "We'll need your access cards and credentials before you leave today," Quentin added. "Zane will handle any knowledge transfer over the next 3 weeks. You don't need to come in, but be available by phone." "Zane doesn't know the entire system," I said. "Nobody does, except me." Quentin's expression hardened slightly. "Everything's documented, Julian. We've reviewed your wikis and repositories." Documented, yes, but understanding the documentation required context I'd never had time to provide. The board had repeatedly denied my request for a proper knowledge transfer project. "Move faster, we'll clean it up later," had been the refrain for years. "I understand," I said, closing the folder. I wrote down my passwords on a notepad. Domain admin, VPN, security console, monitoring systems. 10 years of protecting this company's data distilled into 9 credential sets. Quentin nodded as I pushed the notepad across the table. "You'll regret this," I warned, my voice cold and resolute. "This mistake will destroy you." "I know change is hard, but this is the right direction for the company." I handed over my access card and stood up. "I hope you're right." 3 days later, my prediction came true, faster than even I had anticipated. My personal phone lit up with texts from Zane. "Systems acting weird, multiple alert triggers, can you call?" "They're already collapsing," I whispered, my heart pounding as I read the texts, their panic palpable. I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let Quentin discover firsthand what happens when you dismantle security infrastructure you don't understand. But 10 years of professional instinct won out. I called Zane. Thank God, he answered. We've got unusual traffic patterns on the southern gateway. The monitoring system is flagging it, but nobody knows what to do. What's Quentin saying? I asked. He's in meetings with the board all day. The IT team is saying it's probably just a false positive from the automated rule updates. Automated rule updates that I had designed to adapt to emerging threat patterns. If they were triggering alerts, something was wrong. Did anyone check the second-level verification logs? I asked. Silence. The what? I closed my eyes. Zane, there's a secondary validation system that confirms alert patterns before raising flag. If both systems are triggering, it's not a false positive. Where do I find that? I walked him through accessing the hidden dashboard. The credentials weren't in my handover notes because it was a system I'd built during a weekend hackathon 4 years ago. It had caught 3 potential breaches since then. Oh, Zane whispered, both systems are lit up like Christmas trees. You need to isolate the southern gateway immediately, I said. Power down the external connection and fail over to the backup line. I don't have that authorization, Zane replied. Nobody gave me the admin rights to network hardware. Of course they hadn't. In their rush to remove me, they'd forgotten to transfer the full scope of my access. You need to get Quentin or someone from senior IT, I said. I'll try. Can you come in just to help sort this out? I hesitated. That's not my job anymore, Zane. Please, Julian, he begged, his voice breaking. We're defenseless without you. Please, Julian. I don't know what I'm doing here. Part of me wanted to help, the other part knew better. Call Quentin. Tell him exactly what I told you. I'll be available if he wants to contact me directly. 4 hours later, Quentin called. Julian. His voice was tight. We're having some security issues. I heard. Zane seems to think it's serious. Our regular monitoring isn't showing much. That's because the regular monitoring wasn't designed to catch sophisticated intrusions. I'd built a separate system for that. What do you want from me, Quentin? He cleared his throat. We could use your insight. Maybe a phone consultation. You obliterated my work, I said, my voice dripping with scorn. Now you're crawling back to beg for my help? You want me to consult on the security system you just decided wasn't necessary? No one said security wasn't necessary, he replied sharply. We're restructuring how it's managed. How's that working out so far? The line went quiet for a moment. We're prepared to pay your contractor rate for assistance. I smiled grimly. My contractor rate is $1,000 per hour, 5-hour minimum, paid up front, plus a signed statement acknowledging that I'll have no liability for outcomes. I expected him to balk. Instead, he simply said, I'll have the paperwork drawn up. How soon can you start? I can't, I replied. I've accepted another position. Non-compete clause in my severance prevents me from accessing your systems now that I'm joining a different financial security firm. This was a lie. I hadn't accepted another job yet, and the non-compete had exemptions for consulting work. But Quentin didn't know that. Julian, this is serious. You made it serious, I said, my voice cold. You broke it, you fix it. Yes, I agreed, it is. I ended the call and turned my phone off again. Whatever was happening at Vinix, it wasn't my problem anymore. They had made their choice. The next morning, I checked the tech news sites out of habit. Nothing about Vinix yet. But by noon, the first headline appeared on a cybersecurity blog. Financial data firm Vinix Technologies investigating potential security incident. My phone had 8 missed calls from various Vinix numbers. 4 from Quentin, 2 from Zane, 1 from Leora, and 1 from a number I didn't recognize. I listened to the voicemails. Quentin, Julian, we need to talk. The situation has escalated. Call me back immediately. Zane, it's bad, really bad. Someone's in the system and we can't lock them out. Please call. The last voicemail was from Amir Holt, Vinix CEO. Julian, this is Amir. Whatever happened between you and Quentin, we need your help right now. Our client's data is at risk. Please call me directly. They're reaping what they sowed, I muttered, my voice heavy with vindication as I listened, their desperation a bitter echo. I called Amir back. Thank God, he answered. Julian, we have a situation. I've heard, I replied. What's happening exactly? Someone's in our systems. They've bypassed the perimeter security somehow. They're moving between client databases, but we can't figure out how. Quentin says something about the internal segmentation failing. The internal segmentation? My custom-built data isolation system that prevented lateral movement between client repositories. It was designed to automatically lock down if it detected unusual access patterns. Has the auto lock triggered? I asked. Silence. What auto lock? I closed my eyes. Amir, there's an automatic quarantine system built into the segmentation controls. If unauthorized movement is detected, it should isolate each client database automatically. No one's mentioned any quarantine system. Hold on. I heard muffled conversation. Then Amir came back. Quentin says there's nothing in the documentation about an auto quarantine. Because you ignored me, I snapped, my voice raw with fury. You cut my resources, and now you're paying the price because the board had repeatedly cut my requests to properly document the security systems. Emergency custom solution, they'd called it when approving the bare minimum budget. We'll properly resource it later. Later never came. The system exists, I said. I built it 4 years ago after the Silver Trust incident. More muffled conversation. Then Quentin's voice came on the line. Julian, where exactly is this quarantine system? We can't find it in any of the infrastructure diagrams. It's not in the diagrams because it was implemented as an emergency measure during the security incident 4 years ago. The board approved it as a temporary solution that became permanent. Check the minutes from the emergency board meeting in July. Another pause. We're looking. Yes, here it is. Approved emergency security measures as proposed by Kerr, but there are no technical details. Because the board, they wanted the problem solved. I could almost hear Quentin's frustration through the phone. Can you just tell us how to activate it? It should activate automatically. If it hasn't, something's been changed in the configuration. Nothing's been changed, Quentin insisted. I thought for a moment. Check the scheduled tasks on the security management server. There's a verification job that runs every 8 hours to confirm the quarantine system is operational. A few minutes of silence. Then, the task is there, but it's disabled. Who disabled it? I asked, already knowing the answer. Quentin's voice was quiet. It was disabled as part of the security restructuring. We consolidated scheduled tasks to reduce system overhead. You crippled us, I said, my voice trembling with rage. You tore apart my work, and now you're drowning in the wreckage. They had dismantled my security system piece by piece, not understanding how the components worked together. Now they were facing the consequences. While Vinex's nightmare unfolded, I received a LinkedIn message from Yara Linwood, CTO at Fortivault Security Group. Heard you might be available. We should talk. Fortivault was one of the top security firms in the country. I'd followed their work for years, admired their approach. The message couldn't have been better timed. They're begging for you now, aren't they? Yara said, her voice sharp with knowing as we met. Vinex is a warning to us all, Julian. We met for coffee that afternoon. Yara was straightforward. Word travels fast in security circles. Vinex's situation is unfortunate. I sipped my coffee. I don't know the details. I'm not there anymore. She nodded. Of course, but I know your reputation. 10 years, no successful breaches? That's impressive. Until now, I said. From what I hear, the breach happened after significant changes to your security architecture. Changes you didn't implement. I didn't ask how she knew. The security community was small, and news traveled quickly. We're expanding our financial sector practice, she continued. We need someone who understands the unique challenges. Someone who's built custom solutions and knows how to manage complex security infrastructures. The job offer was generous. Triple my Vanex salary plus equity, with a team of 10 security engineers reporting to me. The catch? I had to start immediately. I should tell you, I said, my severance includes a non-compete clause. Yara smiled. Our legal team has reviewed standard Vinex severance agreements. The non-compete only applies to directly competing financial data services, not security consulting firms. We're not a competitor to Vinex. We'd potentially be a vendor to them. That evening, as I was reviewing Fortivault's offer letter, my phone rang again. Vinex's main switchboard number. Hello, Julian. It's Leora. Have you seen the news? I hadn't. I opened my laptop and checked the major tech sites. The headlines were everywhere now. Vinex Technologies confirms major data breach. Client information compromised. Financial services firm Vinix suffers catastrophic security failure. Vinix, stock plummets 32% following confirmation of data breach. How bad? I asked. Bad, Leora replied. The intruders got into at least 50 client databases before we managed to shut down external access completely. The system is in chaos. Nobody can figure out how to restore the security controls properly. What's Quentin saying? Quentin's not saying anything. He's in non-stop crisis meetings with the board. They've called in an external security firm for incident response. An external firm that would have to decipher my custom security architecture with no documentation and no background. They'd figure it out eventually, but it would take time during which Vinix's reputation was being destroyed. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it, for everyone affected. You fought for us, Leora said, her voice trembling with emotion. They betrayed you and now we're all paying for it. It's not your fault, Leora said. You tried to warn them. The next morning, I signed Fortival's offer letter. By noon, I was sitting in their downtown office getting set up with new equipment. My first assignment, help develop a post-breach recovery framework for financial institutions. That evening, I received one final text from Amir Holt. The board would like to discuss bringing you back. Name your terms. You're too late, I whispered, my voice steady as I deleted the text, their desperation no longer my burden. I didn't respond. Some bridges once burned should stay that way. Instead, I emailed Yara my first draft of the recovery framework. The subject line, preventing the next Vinix. 1 month after the breach, I was settling into my role at Fortivolt when Bloomberg published an investigative piece titled The Collapse of Vinix, How Cost-Cutting Crushed Security. The article detailed how Vinix's new management had systematically stripped away security controls in pursuit of faster development cycles. Internal emails obtained by the reporters showed Quentin had disabled key security mechanisms despite warnings from the IT staff. Zane was quoted anonymously, describing how my custom security architecture had been dismantled without proper understanding. The most damning revelation came from board meeting minutes. 4 years earlier, I had requested budget for proper documentation and knowledge transfer of the security systems. The request had been denied 7 consecutive quarters, labeled as non-essential administrative overhead. They ignored you and paid the ultimate price, Zane said later, his voice heavy with regret. You were our protector, Julian. That same day, 4 of Vinix's largest clients publicly announced they were terminating their contracts. Their press releases cited irreconcilable concerns about data security practices and loss of trust in Vinix's security governance. I didn't need to watch the stock price to know what was happening. LinkedIn told the story as Vinix employees began updating their profiles en masse, signaling the exodus. Quentin Bryce updated his profile too. Strategic Technology Advisor, it now read, no company listed. His tenure at Vinix had lasted less than 4 months. At Fortival, we received inquiries from several former Vinix clients looking for security advisory services. During one call, a client CIO asked if I had been involved in Vinix's security architecture. Yes, I answered simply. We thought so, he replied. That's why we're calling you first. I took no pleasure in Vinix's downfall. A company I'd helped build was crumbling, and hundreds of good people would lose their jobs. But I felt a quiet vindication. Security wasn't just overhead to be cut, it was foundational. 7 months later, Fortival had grown its financial security practice dramatically. Many of our new clients were former Vinix customers, and several of my old colleagues had joined our team. Zane was now my senior security engineer. Leora led our client communications department. Vinix itself had been acquired for a fraction of its former value, essentially purchased for its client list and technology patents. The brand name was retired. The security breach, a cautionary tale in business school case studies. I ran into Amir Holt at an industry conference in Denver. You warned us, Amir said, his voice heavy with regret. We should have listened, Julian. We found ourselves alone after the day's sessions. No hard feelings? He asked, raising his glass. None, I answered truthfully. Business decisions have consequences, some more than others. He nodded. For what it's worth, I fought against those changes, got outvoted. That's boards for you, I said. Your new firm seems to be doing well. We are. Amir finished his drink. You know what the irony is? We're paying Fortival 4 times your salary for security consulting now. I smiled slightly. The cost of security always gets paid either upfront or after the fact. After is always more expensive. As he left, Amir paused. Quinton landed at Nexlify, pushing the same move-fast philosophy. Good luck to them, I said. Back in Austin, I walked into Fortival's offices on Monday morning to find Yara waiting with news. Nexlify had suffered a security incident over the weekend. Their CISO was requesting emergency assistance. Want to take the lead on this one, she asked. I shook my head. Send the junior team, they need the experience. That afternoon, I finalized our new client onboarding documentation. Clear, comprehensive, meticulously detailed. The section title, Understanding the Full Security Architecture, the Foundation of Trust. This is my legacy, I whispered, my voice steady as I saved the document, the weight of my triumph settling in. My father had been right about one thing. Job security isn't about where you work. It's about being the person who knows how to prevent disasters that others don't even see coming.